Hello, my Teaserking family. If you've been waiting for me, I know a couple have. I apologize. I haven't done anything. It wouldn't load this. So the first time I loaded it, it was like an error and I wasn't getting anywhere. And then the second time, it kept kicking me out, saying, what happens is you put it in your stuff and then it loads it onto here as a live one. Well, the first time it was a shared one. And then it was errors and it wouldn't load. And anyway, I'm finally here. Just a second. All right. So let's go to gold. Gold is now 29.20 and silver is 32.16. The little 10 o'clock drop on the gold, it was up to 29.24. I think it was 29.30 last night. So China did its part. We had an 8 o'clock drop from 29.20 to 29.08, which is London. And then at 10 o'clock, it jumps back. So the US can do their derivative at a higher number at 29.20. It's actually dropped to 29.15 now, but it looks like it's headed back up. Silver 32.16. So it's a good sign. Silver's not dropping. Silver should explode, but the paper, the bullion banks, J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs, will lose their ass if it starts moving because they'll have to cover all the derivatives they have. That is the one and only reason why silver's not moving. They need the price to stay low or they're going to get crushed in their derivatives. It is not. China wants the price low. China's bought enough silver. They want the price to go up. You know, it makes sense logically sometimes when Alligator or one of these guys say, well, it's China wants the price to stay low, or the U.S. military puts silver in their Tomahawk missiles, so they want the price to stay. It doesn't matter. I want avocados to be 5 cents. That doesn't mean they're going to be 5 cents. I can't control the market. Neither can they. Right now, the market's 32.18, and it's basically there because they're trying their best to do derivatives, paper, gold, and silver. That's the point. Hey, Pat, how are you today? What's the news from Singapore? I'm sorry. I don't know if you were waiting for me or not. I kept trying to get in and load it up. And like you come here and you enter your name and your details, and then you enter a few other things. You say, yep, it's live. Yep, it's anybody can come in, and then it says load. And it kept giving me, sorry, we can't do it. So I'm really happy I finally can. Shortages is everywhere now. So what's your thoughts on the silver derivatives getting blown up, or and we finally get a good price on silver? So Tuesday I went and bought a 10-ounce silver bar. I think I showed it. I'll show it again. So this is what I bought. This is a 10-ounce silver bar. Now it's not made, it's just made by a company, but it says 10 ounces, 999 silver, and there's this B number on it. So this is real silver. It's fine. People will take it. Instead of buying 10 coins, you can buy this. The coins, if you are just starting out, you want coins because you want to, if I need 1 ounce, I can go buy something. But if I need 1 ounce and I have a 10-ounce bar, I can't. Or if you have the huge bar, you're really screwed because you can't. Uh, you got to cut it, and you get a big 100-ounce bar. What do you do with it? You can't really saw it into 1 ounce things of silver, and it's hard to travel with, and it's hard to take to the grocery store or to the restaurant. So if you're really a big buyer, a central bank's buying the 400-ounce gold things. But if it's me and you, we can get some of these 10 ounces, but we also want the 1 ounces. Now, I did buy the Canadian Maple Leaf 2 ounces. They're a little thicker. And I gave Jenna a 5 ouncer when we were in Italy. So I gave her a 5 ouncer. And, it's just easier to carry around and, to use that on a bigger purchase. But once silver hits $1,000 an ounce, she's sitting on $5,000. So yeah, I mean, yeah, because this is the Titanic sinking right now, as we're going to say, Pat. Um, Shortages everywhere because people are realizing the dollar's collapsing and gold and silver are your only lifeboats, not life rafts, Sandy Sheckman, lifeboats. I love when these guys they watch me, then they try to use my stuff, but they change it to life instead of lifeboat, life raft. Like, you could give me credit if I'm educating you. Some of these guys are just total idiots. You got to teach them everything, but they're not classy enough to give you credit for it. I really hate that. Like Bill Halter's the worst. He tried to do Austrian and Keynesian economics, and he just failed miserably. But again, he won't give me credit. He won't say, hey, what do you mean here or there? So it's just real funny. Anyway, so gold 29.16 going up and silver 32.17. Let's go to here. So I was watching this video.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt
and
may qualify for help from national.
We're going to explain. Okay, this is the politics of gold. Economist Michael Hudson explains why gold price is rising. Well, we already know why gold price is rising because of demand. But who is Michael Hudson? So I go on Google and I search Michael Hudson. Because you want to know who you're listening to. I think that's the critical part is who am I listening to? Who's Michael Hudson? Who's Alligator? Who's Egon? Well, Egon we know is pretty Austrian, and Mark McGuire's kind of Austrian. Alligator, I don't know what he is. He's just a banker. I don't think he knows this. The Bitcoin guy is Keynesian, and so when I learn these new guys, Luke Roman is not Austrian. Luke Roman is an economist. Well, what does that mean? He's a macroeconomist. That means he's a Keynesian. And so I get to this Michael Hudson, this guy I showed you, and he's talking about that. Well, I don't even like this channel. So I go, Michael Hudson, and it says he's a Marxist economist who specializes in economic history. What the fuck does that mean? And financial analysis. He has written books, which you would never want to read, on topics such as the history of debt, economic thought, and international finance. Education, research professor of economics at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, professor at the School of Marxist Studies at Peking University in China, and former Wall Street analyst. This is the problem. You have a guy who is a Marxist. He is Dr. Hudson, is a former balance of payments economist for the Chase Manhattan Bank and Arthur Andersen. In 1989, he organized the world's first third world debt fund for Scudder Stevens and Clark, an offshore fund. So he's very corrupt. He's a Marxist. So he says he's like the guy in the pool who says he's a communist. So I thought he was, based on his first comments. So in his comments, he makes a point.
Been happening with the gold price until just the last few months. And the question is, why hasn't it happened? Well, the obvious answer is that the gold market isn't like regular commodity markets. So the United States has sought to keep gold prices down ever since it was revalued in 1971. And the aim of this was political, to keep the world viewing the US dollar, meaning essentially US Treasury securities, is the most secure form of their international reserves. And it's secure in the sense that, unlike other countries, the United States can simply print the dollars. It can't go bankrupt. People like to say gold is an inflation hedge.
So as soon as I heard it can't go bankrupt, I turned it off, because we are bankrupt. That is the whole concert that I teach and try to explain to people. If you print too much, you go bankrupt. Hence the Romans, the French, the Spanish, the Germans, Greece, Sri Lanka, Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil. Name a country, and pretty much all of them have went bankrupt. Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands. Why does he say it can't go bankrupt? Because we can print money, but the problem that he doesn't understand is if you keep printing money, it has no value. Then he says about the gold standard as well. You could use bacon and eggs or something like that. Yeah, I really want to take a class of a Marxist. So it shows how stupid he is and how clueless he is, and why we don't want to listen to Marxists. So here's how you spot the Marxist Keynesian. Words like, we can't go bankrupt. We don't know why the gold price is going up. It's derivatives. There's more in here, but I really don't want to listen to this guy because it's going to make me throw up. Gold market is political. The gold market's the gold market. Why isn't it an inflation hedge? It certainly is an inflation hedge. I mean, what is an inflation hedge? So I have to change my title. My title is not complete because I kept putting in how to spot a communist Keynesian, and it kept saying we can't load your video. So being psychic, I said, well, let me try just putting in gold price. And sure as shit, it loaded. But I can edit my video at the end, and I will edit it and put back in how to spot, I don't know if I want to call it a Marxist or a communist, Keynesian. And then we're going to talk money and that. So money is, as we know, a medium of exchange. It must be accepted, and the whole thing. So it's very easy to understand what money is. It is not pigs and whatever he said. Gold simply is going up because of people trying to get out of the inflation. So the inflation is you're killing the money. You're printing too much money. As we know, the value goes down. That's it. It's not prices. It's the value of the money dropping. All right. So we know that's inflation. So what are you going to do? Keep these dollars and watch it go to zero, or buy gold and silver, which is the only lifeboat to go into? So, of course, we go into gold and silver because it's the only lifeboat. But we're not the only ones. All the central banks in the world, a lot of Russia and China, are going into the lifeboats, not the life rafts, Andy Scheckman, the lifeboats. Even these guys steal from me and they get it and they fuck it up. So it's lifeboats because that's the only thing you can get into. I'm quoting the Titanic. There's no life rafts on the Titanic. So you're basically, you have no option. You have to go into gold and silver. There's nothing else to go into. Bitcoin is not money. It's not accepted. It's not real. It's a Ponzi scheme. I was watching something yesterday. We'll play about, is Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme? And the guy says, well, it's too early to tell. But it's like Madoff. Well, it's too early to tell if Madoff's a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme because he's not doing anything but getting more money in that makes, and then paying you out. And that's what Bitcoin is. When Saylor and Fink put money in, it goes up. And when they take money out, it drops. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and she finally admitted, oh, I bought Bitcoin. Oh, what'd you buy it at? 60,000. Well, it was 125. And I looked yesterday, and it's 95. So I tell her, look, you should sell it, take your profit, and put it into gold and silver. It's about to go through the roof. You've made your money in Bitcoin, but you don't even know what it is, and you don't know why it's going up and down. And when the dollar goes out, it's going to be worthless. Take your profit, like we talk about at the casino. When you're at the casino, you need to take your profit. No, you're playing craps. You're up $5,000. You're just going to keep playing till you're at zero, because you're going to go to zero if you don't take your profit, or blackjack, or even poker. You're going to get burned and lose. So you try to explain this. So I'm telling her, take your profit. Now, you don't have to take all profit, but take, I don't know what you put in. You bought it at 60,000. Did you actually buy one Bitcoin, or you bought it at 60,000? Did you put 60 grand in? And now you said, well, it was 125, but now it's 95. So you just lost 30,000 of your profit you could have had. I says, but gold and silver is about to go to the moon. So therefore, you should move into the next thing. Because I go, how high is Bitcoin going? So then I said, if it was me, I didn't say if I was stupid enough to go into Bitcoin. I mean, this is a friend of mine. So I said to her, if it was me, I would be selling it now, taking my profit and buying as much gold and silver as I can, because it's about to go to the moon, because the dollar's worthless. But you got to understand the dollar's worthless. So I said, that's what I would do. Now, what she'll do, what she wants to do. Again, these people are into Bitcoin. I don't know if it's because they think it's cool. They think it's, look at how smart I am, or just the fact it's going up, and they don't know why, and they don't know why it goes up or down, but they're going to be in it because it's cool that I'm in Bitcoin. I don't invest to be cool. I invest to make money. That's why we do. That's why I buy gold and silver. So anyway, this is the point I told her. So I try to go what I would do. Now she knows I buy gold and silver, and she knows I'm very good at economics. She can read that. She says, yeah, I don't want to fuck with you on economics. I go, no, you don't. I didn't just learn it. I understand it. I live it. I know it. Right? Oh, look at my notes. Oh shit, I don't have any. So that's the point of it. So as Pat's saying, shortages everywhere. Well, let's go back to Luke's brother. When the tickets for the Super Bowl are initially released, 70,000 people bought them. Most of them probably went to the brokers. And then, but there's more demand. Another 50,000 still wanted them, didn't get them. So the price went from 400 or 500, I assume, or 1,000 to 4,500, 5,000, 10,000. And so when you see that, that's the point of it. So now you see it at 10,000 a ticket because your supply's too low and your demand's too high. More than 70,000 people wanted to go to the game. The Philly people, let's see the three-peat, let's see Taylor, let's see whatever. And let's see Mahomes. So you have all this demand because of who was in it. And therefore, the price would go up, because if you have more demand than supply, it goes up. So this is what we have. And that's what we have with gold. Everybody wants it, but there's not enough, which is going to force the price up. So let's hear what this moron says. Why is the price of gold rising? Let's I'm going to destroy this guy.
I believe this is going to change your life. Yeah, that simple circle is a cell.
Very strange is happening there.
I believe this is going to change your life. Yeah,
Really?
that
Now
simple
we got
circle is a cell.
commercial again.
Very strange is happening there. On Monday, February 10th, the week started with gold rising to over $2,900 an ounce. So we're on the verge of it going up to $3,000 an ounce. That's a quantum leap. And if you look at the statistics for gold mining throughout the world and the supply and demand of gold, demand has been far outstripping the supply now for 20 or 30 years. And we're seeing now an effect very much like a run on the bank. But that run on the bank has actually been occurring for a few decades. So the question that you have to ask to begin with is, why did it take so long until just this year for gold
Let's
to
see if you
begin to go up
understand
in price
COMEX price
after
fixing.
it stagnated for a decade? We've seen the last decades, the central banks have devoted a steady rise in the proportion of their reserves that they hold in gold.
I remember this guy's a
and
Marxist.
Proportionally less of their reserves in the form of U.S. dollars. They're still holding more and
Wow.
more dollars every year
What an idiot.
because the United States is running such a large balance of payments deficits that it's pumping dollars into the world economy. But other countries are not just recycling these dollars. They're spending more and more of the dollars they get onto gold is a kind of safe haven for them, something that is solid. Gold is an asset that doesn't have a debt attached to it. If you hold a gold coin or a gold bar, that's a pure asset, no debt at all. But if you hold a treasury bond, that's a debt of the United States. And if it's a debt of the United States, it's like your bank deposit is a debt of the bank to you. And if the U.S. goes under, like a bank goes under, or if it just refuses to pay, then you're out. And there's something ephemeral about all of this.
Ooh, a big word.
Well, if you look at the trend of gold prices, it stagnated in a very narrow range from about $1,200 to $14 an ounce for a few years, from 2015.
Let's
to
see if he gets the
2019.
price fixing.
It was all in a range. Well, I was spent a lot of time in Europe and Asia at that time, and all the government officials I talked to, the financial funds all said, well, you know, we want to, we're buying more and more gold because this system can't last politically the way it is. But the price didn't go up. And then during the COVID years, from 2020 to early 2023, once again, there was a stagnation, a range from $1,800 to $2,000 an ounce. That's a pretty narrow range. You had a low range, a little step function to a new range, and then very, very gradually drifting upward, but not anywhere near as fast as the actual demand for gold was. And well, finally, in the last half year, we've seen the gold price rise all out of range to, as I said, nearly $3,000 an ounce. So the question is, are we in a new range for gold, or is the price going to go higher? And with so many people buying the rights to hold gold, you'll buy a gold fund, and you'll pay money into the gold fund. And
okay, so this is what a Keynesian communist Marxist does. It's jibber jabber, jibber jabber. We don't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he still misses the answer. The answer is obviously it's being price fixed by JP Morgan and the derivatives, which is what COMEX is, because COMEX is there to set the price. Yet he doesn't say that. That's all he needed to say. Why is the gold price going up now? Because the derivatives are getting killed and they're taking delivery on COMEX, and that makes the price go on. So it's the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians taking delivery of the gold on COMEX, because COMEX has been price fixing it, which is why you haven't seen gold go up. And now the system's broken because of Basel III, and now gold is a tier 1. Basel III says you've got to give the delivery. That's why the gold's coming from London to New York. It must be our gold that we're getting back from London. London has no gold. So the U.S. has got it so they can pay off the derivatives on COMEX. So the reason gold has not gone up is because COMEX has price fixed it. Now that's the difference between me, an Austrian, and some commie Marxist guy, a Keynesian, who doesn't really have an answer. So he mumbles around and rumbles around, but never answers the question. Well, the demand. Well, fuck, we know the demand. The demand's been there since 1971. Believe me, if I wasn't 12 years old back then, I would have been buying gold at $35 an ounce as much as I'm buying it now. So that's the answer, but he doesn't understand. See, here's where you unmask Batman. Here's where you unmask the people. This is how you spot a Marxist, a communist, a Keynesian. It's all the same. There's how you unmask them. Ask them a question and try to get a straight answer, and you can't. If you ever listen to Peter Schiff, I have no idea what he's talking about. If you ever listen to Reichert or Rick Rude, I have no idea what they're talking about. They just talk in riddles. Andy Scheckman's good for that. Mark McGuire talks in Chinese half the time, but Egon's dead on. Matt Puffenberger, I wouldn't listen to. He's a salesman. He doesn't get it at all. But this is the point. The point is it's been price fixed, and that blew up. And that's why gold's going up, is they're all taking demand because they understand what inflation is. And they don't want to be de-dollarized. Now, yes, part of it is we sanctioned Russia and took their money. But that's small part. What are we going to take everybody's money? But it's the way you could take the money. That's why we're not worried about them stealing our money like FDR did. You know, that's like, well, in 1932, they took the money from the people. Yeah, but they paid them. It didn't just go into your house and take it. They said, take your money to the bank. We'll give you $20 an ounce. That's what they did. They paid for your gold. They didn't steal it from you. So if they want to pay me $29.20 for my ounce right now, I don't want to give it to them because I'll wait till it hits 10,000 and then I'll give it to them. But they're not going to do it. There's not enough gold out there in America. It's all over the world, and they're not going to take it. They got better fish to fry. Maybe the Bitcoin people. They want a tax, and all the money's in stocks. So people think the lifeboat is stocks, bonds, real estate trust, real estate annuities. They're still on the Titanic. This is where it all comes together. The money is worthless. You cannot just print it and think you're not going to go bankrupt. This is the big thing with these Keynesians. Oh, they can just print. We can't go bankrupt. We can just keep printing more. You could print more, but it's not worth anything, is the whole bingo. This is the part they don't get. It's like going for fourth down in the NFL. You go 4th and 2. Well, we'll go for it. But if you don't make it, you lose the game. Ask the Lions against the Niners. Ask half these teams that go for it on 4th down and don't make it. You're going to lose the game. That's the problem with it. There's no reward. It's all risk. And if you lose, you lose the game. But if you don't mind losing the game because you're so stupid to go on 4th down, ask Oregon against Washington. They fucked up that one 2 years ago. 4th and 1 at the 50 with a minute left. All they got to do is punt the ball and say, okay, Washington, go 90 yards, which Penix might have done anyway. He went 50 yards in about 10 seconds. He threw 2 passes, touchdown. Because Oregon was demoralized because they went for 4th down and didn't get it. If you punt the ball, you don't lose momentum, and that's what these coaches don't get. That's why they're idiot coaches. That's why Oregon didn't beat Ohio State this year. Again, they should have won the championship, but nope. So this is the point. The reason gold price is going up because the dollar is worthless. and you only have one option. You have to get into gold and silver. That's why it's going up, because everybody, the demand is for that. And COMEX, who has been keeping the price down on purpose, not by market, has lost its string on gold. They're not yet lost the string on silver, but that's happening. As Pat's saying, shortages everywhere now. So how is COMEX going to deal with shortages on silver? Because when the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians want silver for the solar panels, or just because they want to put it in their systems because they want to get out of the dollar, they got to deliver that. Or they're all going to just say, fuck you, and go right to the mines and pay $100 an ounce because it's limited and it's gone. And then, yeah, COMEX, yeah, you can sell it for $30, but people will buy it from you with the intent of selling it to the Russians for 100. That's what's happening. But this guy doesn't understand it. How do you listen to this guy? So my point is how to spot a communist or Marxist or Keynesian when they say that you cannot print the money, you can't go bankrupt because you can keep printing money. That's when you turn it off, and that's when you go, fuck, this guy's an idiot. What are you talking about? The more you print, the less it's worth. So yes, you can go bankrupt, and yes, we are bankrupt. What the fuck is he talking about? How does he think you can keep printing money and nothing happens to it? Oh my God, this guy is such an idiot. All right, let's
And I want to talk about that today, not simply to as an exercise, but to show what the politics behind the gold market are and what it means for how the world economy is being restructured. Suddenly, gold is more than just an investment vehicle. There have always been gold bugs that don't understand how is it that the government can just print money. We don't understand. We're going to just try to buy gold, and there should still be
we don't understand. What the fuck is he talking about? We do understand exactly that they can't just keep printing money. It will have an effect. If you reach our level, right? We are at a master's level, my class, you guys. That's how we understand it, because you can't just keep printing it. It does go to zero. So when you get something like this, you sit there and you just shake your head. And I hate people who just say, how does nobody understand it? Well, fuck you. We understand it. How do you not understand that it will go to zero? All right.
Gold standard like there was in the 19th century. There are all these crazies on the right wing, libertarians who don't trust government. But now we're talking about demand, not just from the crazies, but from
okay, now you're insulting us. We're crazies because we don't trust government. Do you trust government? And what has government done that's been good? They've ruined the money. They lie to us all the time. So it's smart people who sit there and question the government. When your girlfriend lies to you, do you still trust her? Well, she lies to me, but yeah, I'll just trust. I'm a crazy because I don't trust her. This guy's just too stupid. All right.
Very well said, Michael. There's so much we could respond to. We talked about central bank demand for gold, but I think another important factor here is inflation, because traditionally gold has been seen as an inflation hedge. When you have moments of high rates of inflation, for instance, coming out of the COVID pandemic, as the economy reopened in 2022, inflation, consumer price inflation was very high in the United States and many countries because of the supply chain disruptions. So as inflation increased in 2022, you could see that in October, the gold price was around $1,600, and it increased pretty substantially to almost $2,000 in the spring of 2023. However, what happened then is that in early 2023, the inflation peaked and the gold price went down as inflation went down, because that's of course it's an inflation hedge, so it makes sense that they would tend to move together. However, something very strange happened. In October 2023, the gold price reached a low of around $1,850. And since then, consumer price inflation has continued to fall. But that relationship broke. And instead, the gold price skyrocketed by another $1,000 to around $2,900. So, Michael, that relationship has now ended. It's broken. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I can't wait for
there's
this.
a causal relationship there at all. That's my whole point. People like to say gold is an inflation hedge, but you could say eggs are an inflation hedge.
Oh,
or,
sure we could.
Pork is an inflation hedge.
What an idiot.
The point is the real problem is the U.S. balance of payments deficit pumping dollars into the world. In the recipients of it, you'll pay dollars to an exporter from China or Germany, and when there was still a Germany industry, and they'd turn the dollars over to their central bank, and the central bank would then say, "What are we going to do with these dollars? If we don't send them back to the United States, our currency is going to go up against the dollar, and that's going to make our exports less competitive. So we have to keep our currency, our exchange rate down, and we do that by buying treasury securities. It's always been political, and the newspapers don't want to talk about politics.
What the fuck is this guy talking about? Okay, first of all, real inflation hasn't gone down. As I said, it's not price inflation, it's printing the money. This guy is out of his fucking mind. I got to can I add a comment? Or does he not allow comments? Yes. You'll love this comment. I sign my post. All right. This guy's a Marxist. F off, loser. The libertarians are not crazy. Only an idiot trusts the government, the professor. Don't piss me off because I don't take that shit. Then I said, here, this guy's a Marxist Keynesian economist. Don't listen. He's clueless. He says the USD can't go bankrupt. Laugh out loud. It's already bankrupt. Try not to listen to the two communists. We know their system doesn't work. The professor, I'm an Austrian for free markets. Masterclass on the wealth class and politics. Thanks so much. And I go, oh my God, see all the Keynesians. He puts it all together. You cannot separate economics from politics. U.S. cannot print gold. That should be enough reason why gold is gaining price. Finally, one guy is smart enough. These guys, they just listen to the communists. Unbelievable. All right, what else does this moron say? Let's hear what he says. Budget deficits in MMT. MMT is printing the dollars. It's a Keynesian philosophy.
Yeah, well, what's also ironic is that Trump talks about cutting the deficit, but he's also cutting taxes on the rich, which will likely increase the deficit, which is exactly what Ronald Reagan did.
Right, but he is not quite, that's the unstated part, but we all know what he wants.
Exactly. It's the same thing that Ronald Reagan did. Reagan said he's going to cut government spending, but actually the U.S. deficit as a percentage of GDP increased significantly under Reagan. Ironically, it was the neoliberal Bill.
It's not from tax cuts. Tax cuts means simply the people who have money keep it, and it doesn't go to the government. So how does that increase whatever the fuck you just said? It's people like this this is where I get bothered, because people that don't know listen to this and they believe it. And this is where I got to go, are you out of your fucking mind? They'll make a comment that they don't know if that's true or not, but they'll say it's true. You should not tax the rich, because the rich create jobs, they create companies, they have money to spend, which helps the economy. But if you give it all to the government doesn't spend properly. The government's not shopping at Sharper Image or the golf store or anything like that. The government doesn't help jobs at all, because what do they buy? They spend their money on roads and war and, and they put their money in the stock market, and they steal from everybody. All right, let's hear what Frodo has to
Clinton
say.
Administration that actually reduced the deficit. And for the first time the only time ever since, the U.S. actually had a budget surplus. But what's interesting, Michael, is that you have been associated with modern monetary theory, and you're not a gold bug. But what you're saying here is that there is an element. You're not arguing that the dollar should go back to the gold standard. That's not what you're arguing. But you're saying that having some kind of limitations to the amount of money printing by having some kind of link to reality can actually limit.
Theory explains how to finance the domestic budget deficit. But one thing modern monetary theory cannot do when you create money is you can't create foreign currency. You can create dollars to spend into the economy. You don't have to borrow these dollars.
All right, it's hard to listen to this guy, so we're done listening to him. The modern monetary theory is inflation. It's print, 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 and don't worry, we won't go bankrupt. And so when you hear that, just run, don't walk away, don't listen to this crap. So I'm done with this guy. What a loser this guy is. Oh my God. Just terrible. I did change my header on one video because it was showing me my phone with the gold price. So I got this new screen, the Bellagio. So I'm using that for now.
I think, Egon, what's really important, and that's the leitmotif of this year's report, the new gold playbook. I think we're always focusing on the Western world when it comes to gold. We stare at the Fed funds futures and how is the CPI going to develop and all the political crises and developments that we're seeing in the Western world. But actually, the price of gold is more and more being made and influenced by emerging markets demand. That's really, really important. And Chinese, Indians, people in the Mideast, in Turkey, they're buying gold because they're quite used to weak currencies, high inflation, financial repression. They don't have so many investment alternatives. And for them, this is like, we put out a paper where we said, okay, the optimal gold allocation for let's say like a bond equity portfolio, like a standard portfolio, would be 14 to 18% gold. I would say like in Western markets, it's probably like 1%, the current allocation to gold. Maximum. Yeah. I think, Egon, what's really...
Okay, so what they're kind of missing with the U.S. is we have a lot more money, so we put our money in the stocks and bonds and real estate trust or the annuities. That's what most of the people put their money in. We are very unusual that we're saying, fuck all that. We want to be in gold and silver because we realize that's where you put your money now because of all the inflation and all of that's going to go down. And yes, to say that you can't go bankrupt by printing money, well, what the fuck happened to the Roman Empire? Excuse me, but I think that happened, that they went under because they couldn't pay their military because they had no more money. They paid the military in gold. When they ran out of gold and silver, they couldn't pay the military, and the Ottoman came in and destroyed them because they got the gold and they paid their soldiers gold, and they came in, and all the Roman soldiers left because they're saying, well, we're not getting paid. We ain't getting killed for nothing. So I don't know how you can ignore that, or the French or Spain or Portugal or London, England going bankrupt, which is what happened to all of them. That's why there's not, the Roman Empire still doesn't exist, because they imprinted. Now, if they wouldn't have printed their money and they would have stayed with their republic, we'd still have the Roman Empire today, because it was a good empire. It was sound to have a council and then the Senate kind of balancing each other, so one man couldn't have too much power. But now we got other things. And I got a couple videos to show you. Let's see. So there was one on George Soros, and there's one on something else that I forget, but it's in my list. So they're trying to end the war with Russia and the Ukraine, which I think is ending soon. Basically, Ukraine will keep all what they took from, or Russia will keep all they took from Ukraine. The 4 regions, Donetsk and Kharkov and Crimea and Odessa, they'll keep that, and then the rest will go to Ukraine, and somehow they'll have a Ukraine country within that. They'll choose a new leader because Zelensky's a crook, and they'll go from there. Let me see. This one is on George Soros, and we are going to play this because we hate George Soros. He is the devil. He makes Hitler look like a good guy. He's terrible.
Unemployment tip number 4. How to get the government to give you up to...
Shut the fuck up.
Stock deal involving financial services company Societe Generale, and he was fined 2.2 million euros, or $2.9 million. Soros appealed the ruling, but it was upheld by the Cour de Cassation, which is France's Supreme Court, in 2006. Facing new federal regulations concerning hedge funds, Soros announced in July 2011 that the Quantum Endowment Fund would no longer manage the money of outside investors. Instead, it would only handle the assets of Soros and his family in offshore accounts. In 2003, Soros created startup funding for the liberal think tank, the Center for American Progress, pledging millions of dollars to groups such as MoveOn.org to oppose the re-election of Republican President George W. Bush in 2004. He later financially supported the Democratic Senator Barack Obama's presidential campaigns in 2008 and 2012. And he donated to Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election and to Joe Biden in 2020. In 2010, Soros had given $100 million to the non-governmental organization Human Rights Watch. Despite left-wing media organizations trying to provide cover for Soros by denying that he funded domestic terror groups, George Soros' philanthropic group, the Open Society Foundations, admittedly invested $220 million in various racial, social justice organizations and leaders. This includes primarily the domestic terror groups Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They even announced it months in advance of the riots that cost about $2 billion in damages and cost several lives. Soros has personally donated more than $32 billion to so-called left-wing charitable causes through his grant-making network, the Open Society Foundations. His political support deeply extended into U.S. state and local politics. He spent billions helping progressive radical Democrats running for various offices, from governors to district attorneys and attorneys general. He assisted in the campaigns to elect the criminal DAs Fani Willis in Fulton County, Georgia, Alvin Bragg in New York City, and many liberal judges nationwide. He also poured money into California races to prop up progressive liberals, and also sent millions to the Democratic challenger to Republican Senator Ted Cruz in Texas. All of these persons have been brought out into the light for their illegal, selective, unethical, and radical applications of state and federal laws, thereby exposing the deep state, and see our video on that subject. Regarding the betrayal of not just his fellow Jews, but his family's friends and neighbors, George Soros has no feelings of guilt for his actions.
I don't feel guilty because I'm engaged in an amoral activity which is not meant to have anything to do with guilt.
Soros demands that all other businesses, investment groups, and hedge funds adhere to the rules and regulations which he himself avoids.
Part of the reason he is so rich is that the Soros hedge funds operate offshore in the Netherlands Antilles to avoid scrutiny by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So even while Soros tells Congress and the Treasury that hedge funds must be regulated to stop the global crisis, he's avoiding the rules.
So how does George Soros make his wealth and escape regulations and scrutiny without abiding by the very rules that apply to all other Americans, rules he supports, as he is a citizen? How does he do it? He avoids scrutiny by the IRS and Security Exchange Commission, as well as other international agencies, due to his methods of operating outside of U.S. jurisdiction.
Because the fund is not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We are not
Licensed to do business in the United States.
That's right.
Because
Because we are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
George Soros, the investment genius, is also, by some definitions, a criminal mastermind determined to destroy the free market system in the USA and around the world, and establish a global digital currency that is managed by the Marxist global elites. Today, George Soros has an estimated wealth of $7.2 billion, but that number may be much larger given his offshore accounts that cannot easily be monitored. Whether or not you support, oppose, believe, or disbelieve the stories of George Soros, just remember what he said in his own words. Thank you for watching this episode of Forgotten History. If you liked what you
Now you understand that he is Hitler. He learned all this. He was a Nazi. He grew up in Hungary as a Jew, and he turned in all the Jews to the Nazis, put them all in concentration camps. So he's a fucking loser, and you can't trust the guy. And he does all these illegal things, and he's so much to support Obama and Clinton and all and Biden. Now you understand how they won the elections. He's a terrible person. He should be in jail, but he controls it. Like I'm not into the SEC. Well, why is everybody else in the SEC? So he's like Madoff times 10. He's a terrible person. He should have been in jail 50 years ago. He escaped the Nazis, but he left very wealthy after World War II. He stole all the money and the gold, and he brought down Britain with some financial stuff to devalue it. He probably did options or whatever, shorting the British pound, and it collapsed. And he's trying to do that now. As you can see, we're printing money. Oh, Obama and now Biden. Look what Biden did. He printed the money to try to blow up the U.S. And that's why we're into gold and silver, because we understood that. And I've told you about Soros before. He's a very evil man. And he's still like in his 90s. He's got a kid who's like taking over, but I don't know that he's a Nazi. It's a different thing growing up with the Nazis, and then your dad's a Nazi. How much do you listen to him? But basically, this open society and all these Black Lives Matters and all these socialist communist groups and the Marxists, as they talked about, you have to be very careful. This is why another reason we're buying gold and silver. Oh yeah, and the Marxist on the last video doesn't explain that. So it's pushed up the inflation, the money printing, right? But you've got to understand, and only us Austrians understand, that money printing bankrupts the country. It bankrupts the dollar. Hence BRICS, hence all the central banks in the world, but the U.S. and London and Canada are buying. They're buying the gold. hence the demand, hence the price going up, because high demand, and it's a tier one Basel III compliant is gold, but what silver is not there yet. We're waiting for silver to go, but it isn't there yet. And that's why everybody says, like Pat, shortages everywhere, the supply, the demand's huge. Why isn't silver price going up? Because it's still COMEX fixed derivatives by JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. And now after hearing this, they're probably Soros people. I can't believe Trump put a Soros guy in as his treasury secretary. This guy worked for Soros. What are you fucking kidding me? You make this guy the treasurer? Oh my God. So we know the game. We understand. We're all fucked. All we can do is drop out as we're doing it. We buy gold and silver to get out of the Titanic. That Soros is sitting there, running us into icebergs, right? So, oh no, yeah, don't worry about that iceberg. It won't do any damage. Yeah, the water's coming in the boat. Don't worry about it. And that's what he's doing. He's blowing up the boat, and everybody's going to go down with the Titanic unless you're smart enough to realize what's going on and getting into gold and silver. So when people say, I'm finding my 401k and I'm finding Bitcoin and I'm finding money, and you just, no, you're not, because you're fucking with George Soros, who wants to destroy the country, take it to a digital currency. But just because Soros wants it doesn't mean it'll happen. Thank God Trump's in there. He will block it. He doesn't want CBDCs because he's a rich guy. Hopefully he's smart enough to buy gold and silver. This isn't sure. He's finding a lot of problems in the government, like this U.S. aid to Ukraine's just money printing and just, it's all corrupt, as is education, as is military, the whole government. This is why the budget has a deficit. How can you do a budget when it's all corrupt? Well, we're going to give 10 billion here and 20 billion there to our friends. Soros, he gets his cut, and Hillary Clinton gets her cut, and Obama gets his cut. What are they for? Nothing. They're just there. This is the problem. So how do you balance a budget when it's all phony? So you can't. And that's really what's happening. This is another reason we are buying gold and silver. We have no other option. You cannot, I don't know what the communist is talking about with the printing of the dollar and FX rates and stuff. FX rates are about the quality of the money. And I want a low FX rate. Why would I want a low FX rate? I don't want a low. Look at Russia. It's 100. I give Daria a dollar, buys her 100 rubles. Why is that good? It's not good. Who says it's good? Well, it'll be good for exports. Who gives a fuck about exports? My money's worthless. So when people start talking like that, like the FX rate and that, they don't know what they're talking about. Once you hear that, you can't go bankrupt. As soon as you hear those words, just run to the exits. When they say gold's not good or gold's not an inflation hedge, just run to the exit. I doubt they understand what inflation even is. Printing of the money, not prices. The inflation's coming down. No, inflation's not coming down. Inflation is sky high, but you can't measure it in prices. They haven't even figured that out. Well, we'll measure it in price. Look at it. It's only 2%. Like I said, I was on the bike at the gym yesterday, and the guy sitting next to me, and he goes, "Oh, it's good. Inflation's down." And I just shook my head going, dude, inflation, if you can't measure it because you can't use prices, but if you could, it'd be 50, 60%, not 2%. Where are they getting 2% from when they don't even include half the prices? All right. So that's George Soros, the kingmaker George Soros, 3 days ago, if you're interested. Forgotten history. All right. Let's see. There was a couple other ones. All right. This is ask the expert, is Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme? Will it replace dollars? He doesn't really answer the question. I don't know if he's a Bitcoiner or not. He says, well, it's too early to tell. No, it's a Ponzi scheme. It only goes up when it's bought. There's no value in Bitcoin. But again, I don't know what to do with it. Mark Moss, we can't listen to. So we can ask the expert. It's 11 minutes. I don't want to waste 11 minutes of your time. We'll go to the last 3 or 4 minutes of this.
Coinbase is the most trusted.
But it is a
crypto platform.
Bitcoin channel,
Over
so it's
100
all
million
bullshit.
users trust us, and you.
Hello, everyone.
Let's see. Let's go from
Now,
here.
I say that because the person who asked the question asked, is it possible that Bitcoin is an attempt or could replace U.S. hard currency? So currency has 3 characteristics that are
5.
widely agreed upon, and to be a real currency, you have to have these characteristics. The first one is that it's a widely accepted means of payment, right? Is Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies a widely accepted means of payment? No. So they fail that test. Are they a unit of account? So if I were to ask you, hey, what does it cost to buy a dozen of eggs in Bitcoin? Would you know the answer? Well,
Dozen
no.
of
So it's
eggs.
not a very effective unit of account. The final one is a store of value. Here's where it gets a little more interesting. If we ask the question, is it an effective store of value? Someone may point to the volatility of many cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, and say, these are incredibly volatile. It's not a very effective store of value, right? But some of the Bitcoin enthusiasts in particular, maybe other cryptocurrency enthusiasts as well, may point to the US dollar and say, well, over long periods of time, the US dollar loses value. It loses value to inflation. And part of the reason that's the case is because the total.
Just a second. I want to get my money explanation. I think it's in this book. All right, so he gave us 3, but I'm going to give us 6. Qualities of money. It's portable, didn't say. It's got to be scarce to keep a high value. It's got to be divisible for small exchanges, fungible, so it's replaceable, accepted, durable, and it's the most marketable commodity. So
value
that's
of
what
all
gold
the
money
existing
is.
US dollars is not finite, right? It can expand as the Federal Reserve, basically creates more money, as the banking system creates more money.
The banks
And
that
so
create
that
the
creates
money.
inflation. It can create a reduction in the value of the dollar, its purchasing power. So one of the use cases that a lot of cryptocurrency enthusiasts point to is the idea that, and this is specific, and this is where it's really important to distinguish between Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, is that Bitcoin, 21 million Bitcoin were created when the software was created, right? It's in the rules around how that software is used.
Supposedly, but since we don't know what a Bitcoin is and we can't see it or hold it, how the fuck do you know there's 21 million?
Or 21 million Bitcoin, and there will never be any more than 21 million Bitcoin. There's a scarcity there, and that's what the Bitcoin enthusiasts will point to say that it potentially has a use case as a store of value, right? So it is not a currency, right? And it's very unlikely that it'll ever be a currency. But could it be a store of value?
No.
That's something that only the future will tell. So if I were just to summarize all my thoughts here, the one would be, should we worry about Bitcoin being, actually, let me back up. Should we worry about cryptocurrency being a Ponzi scheme? Some of them certainly are not going to be around in 3 to 5 years. Is Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, or some of the more established cryptocurrencies? Well, time will tell. We don't know. It's very early.
What do you mean we don't know? Of course it is.
The other question is, could this potentially destabilize the global financial system? Unlikely, given its relative size. And then the final question is it likely that some of these cryptocurrencies will replace the US dollar as the currency of the United States, or the widely accepted one? It's unlikely, simply because it's not particularly useful in the ways that a real currency is useful. So those are things that the dollar is actually pretty good at. So this may be simply another new financial innovation, a digitization of a medium of exchange. So I hope.
So basically what he's saying is, because it's not acceptable, I can't go to the grocery store with Bitcoin, makes it not money. So it can't replace the dollar. The dollar is fine. It's the perfect thing. The problem is you don't print it. And that's where George Soros comes into the game, trying to destroy it. He wants a digital currency because he wants to control everybody. And so he heads up with, who's that guy? Klaus Schwab from the Switzerland group, Davos. And they want to control. It all comes from George Soros. He's in charge of it. So he's used to the Nazis controlling people, so he wants to control people. But you can't force people to do it. If nobody wants it, it ain't going to happen. So how is he going to do digital? Well, he thinks if he blows it up, he'll do digital. But here's where we actually like Putin and Xi. What are they saying? No, we're going to have gold, and we're going to get all the gold in. And as Pat keeps telling us, there's a huge demand for gold in China and in Russia. And so everybody's buying gold, and us, and our family buys gold. So as you're buying gold, you're getting out of the control of Soros with the digital currency. But then here comes Trump, who Soros could not buy. And then, as you saw, Soros got some Medal of Honor from Biden. Yeah, he's done a lot. He's tried to ruin the country. That's why they were printing it. And that's who was running our country, was George Soros, for Obama, for Clinton, and for Biden. George Soros was running the U.S. And then Trump got involved, and somehow Trump did it. But then I'm questioning Trump. Is he out of the Soros reach as he promotes a Soros guy to be the Treasury Secretary? What the fuck is that all about? So he'll blow it up. Trump made a huge mistake there. Brissett or whatever the guy's name is a Soros guy. So you're fucked. So we're fucked. And basically, Trump's trying to play magician. Look at my right hand, not my left. So on my right hand, I got Elon Musk going after these departments, finding this fraud, finding all this money going down, down, down. Okay, that's great, but you're missing the point. That's not the problem. The problem isn't the misuse of the funds. You still got heavily inflated money that's worthless. You still have a $36 trillion debt that's you got to pay, and you can't just pay it. You can't print $36 trillion and pay it. Your only hope is gold, and we have to go on the gold standard. There's no other way, because there's no other money you can possibly come up with. So, okay, how did the Germans get out in 1923, 1924? They had the Reichsmark. It was heavily inflated. You needed a fucking wheelbarrow to buy bread and milk. You came out with the Deutschmark, which stopped the hyperinflation of the Reichsmark. You just simply, we're not using this anymore. We're using this new dollar. And everything kind of settled down for a few years. It didn't go away. And when Hitler took over in 1932, all of a sudden he was bankrupt. And then he came out with some new currency that was not even real until he stole all the gold from all the countries. And that's what happens. You destroy the dollar, destroys the economy, destroys the country. Germany was destroyed. Hitler comes to power because he promises jobs. I give everybody a job. Well, you get to wear this black uniform, and we're going to go take vacation in all these countries. And you get guns and tanks and, a lot of horseback, which you didn't realize. And so we're going to go to a war, and that's your job now. So you're going to work in the army. And that's what Hitler did, because everybody was unemployed because the dollar collapsed. And gold went to the moon. But who had gold back then? Who knew about it? Well, I guarantee you now, I was in Berlin with Jenna, I don't know, a year ago, and I would talk to cab drivers or waitresses, or, you know how I am. She'll be buying shoes and I'll be sitting in a department store. Somebody will walk by and we'll start talking about gold, and they go, yeah, we know about it. We got it. We buy it. We can't live without it. So the Germans understand gold. They got it. The French, I think, understand it, as do the Swiss, the Egon guys. They understand it. So that's really what you've got to really get the concept of. That's why gold's going up. It's a very simple, the dollar's worthless, but nobody wants to say that. Nobody really wants to understand inflation. Nobody thinks the dollar can go out. I don't understand how stupid these people are. Well, the dollar, you can't, it'll never go bankrupt. God, are you kidding me? That's like saying, well, Philly can never beat KC in the Super Bowl. With Mahomes, they can never beat Mahomes. They beat the shit out of them. Why do you think the dollar, which is backed by nothing, can't go bankrupt? Because we're the reserve currency? That doesn't guarantee shit. That's the sucker game that they forced everybody to trade. You got to trade in dollars. So if I'm Switzerland and I want to buy euros, I have to sell my Swiss francs and buy dollars and take the dollars to buy the euros. And the US gets the commission. They're like a couple of bookies, as they would say in trading places. So this is the problem. So you can't go out. Well, that's why they're coming out with the gold standard. It's competition. Well, I don't have to do that. Now I'm BRICS. I can just trade in this gold-backed currency. I can trade with Russia and China, and I just give them the gold-backed currency. I don't need the U.S. That's how you get away from a monopoly. You bring in competition. And that's what's happening. And it's also in Brazil, and it's also in Argentina. Although the guy's he's held hostage by the U.S. to take U.S. dollars, and he wonders why Argentina's in big trouble. He's making reforms to the government, but he's missing the point. The dollar's still worthless. This is the key to your country. If we have a country and we have a republic, we've got to protect this, and we've got to make this strong and backed by gold. We have to. That's the only way you can possibly survive as a country, is to not have dictators and to not fuck up your money. Once you lose your money, it's all over. Spain, Portugal, France, England, Rome, Germany, It all, once it goes, prices go through the roof. Well, they're not really going through the roof. Your dollar's just not worth anything. So the only way is to have gold-backed currency. So that's why we have to have gold, and we have to have silver. Now, gold, you can see it's doing its part because of demand from the BRICS countries. Anytime price goes up, it's due to demand. That's obvious. That's how price goes up. And when there's no demand, as there's no demand in this goes to zero. We get that. That's what happens. This goes to zero when there's no demand. That's how a marketplace works. You want to sell bagels, is there a demand for it? And at what price can you sell them for? So you can figure out, is there a demand for bagels by looking at other stores that sell bagels. Go, yeah, there is. And then you go, well, what do they sell them for? Oh, they sell them for $1.50 a bagel. Oh, okay, now we know what to sell it for. If we put it out for $1.50, we'll get it. All right. Maybe we'll push for $2, but with all the other stores selling them at $1.50, we can't do that. So the dollar has no demand. Everybody's de-dollarizing. Everybody's dumping their dollars, every central bank, for gold. Not what the communists said, but because not to keep their dollars strong, and FX and all that bullshit whatever he's talking about is not economics. I love when somebody won't declare they're Keynesians, right? MMT is Keynesians, which means they think they can print the money and nothing will happen. Where they're getting this thought, they are fucking delusional. That's why you don't walk, you run away from these people. So when I sit in the hot tub and I talk to the communist, I just laugh at him. I said, well, your only help is gold. And, look, do what you want. You want to survive, you buy gold and silver. If you want to stay in this shit, fine. If you want to stay in stocks, you're going to go broke. But hey, you know better than me. That's why these people in the 401ks who have $500,000 and that's their retirement and they're scared of losing it have already lost. You're missing the point of the gold boat. You are missing it. It's there. It's 3,000 an ounce now. As it keeps going, it goes and goes and goes. Now what are you doing? And that's what we have. By the way, this eliminates cancer cells. I sent this to Daria. I'm glad she this stops high blood pressure, and the number one anti-cancer food you're not eating but should. Some purple stuff, I don't know. She does a lot with like these and stuff. Anyway, highly recommend these videos to stay healthy. Cancer hates this. Top 3 cancer destroying vitamins. And what kills me is when I tell my friend about it, his wife has cancer and he doesn't use it. He ignores it. And I get kind of pissed. 13 reasons to use castor oil. So I get pissed because it's like, well, it's not me. I'm not the doctor. I'm pointing out to listen to the doctor. And, she needs chemo. She doesn't need chemo if she would just listen to this. Oh, well, we don't believe it. And this is the problem with people. They're so scared that they don't get it. And then they sit there, well, no, I can't sell my 401k. I'll have to pay taxes and that's my retirement. And, nothing's going to happen to the dollar because he's listening to the Keynesian guy who says, well, the dollar won't go broke or, the dollar will never go broke or whatever he said. It can't go bankrupt. We're already bankrupt. It's already down 99%. And this is really where my teaching becomes extremely difficult. On one hand, Egon's with us and he's saying the dollar's lost 99% of the value. And then you got Mark McGuire and his insights. Gold's going to 3,500 and gold's this and COMEX is that and the casino chips and all that, even though it's a little bit hard to understand. So you have that. And then you got these communists, Keynesians, Marxists coming on, MMT people who say, the dollar's fine. Nothing can happen to it. And you sit there and you scratch your head and you go, where did you learn this shit from? Are you out of your fucking mind? Of course the dollar can go out. That's what it does. And you just sit there and you don't even know how to react to it because you're going, it's like saying, I'm saying the sky is blue and the grass is green, but then the Keynesians, Marxists come on and say, well, the sky is orange and the grass is red. And you're like, no, it's blue and green. And they're saying, no, it's orange and red. And you're like, where the fuck are you coming up with this? So this is where it gets difficult and frustrating as we hear, 2 or 3 different points of view. We're right. But then you're hearing this opposite side and it's you got to keep proving it. And I got to keep writing comments going, you're fucked up. You're wrong. This isn't what's happening. And that's really what you get to. And it's crazy. It's really just insane. What is what's going on how people can interpret things incorrectly. I tell you, if a girl smiles at you, you probably have a good chance to say, hey, would you like to get a bite to eat or something? But then sometimes the girl smiles at you and doesn't mean it. It's interpretation. you're trying to figure out, well, will she go out with me? And it's based on the smile. Usually, if the girl starts talking to you, she's interested. Otherwise, like Alyssa, I haven't heard from Alyssa in a while. Alyssa's my friend here. Like I got my friends in Russia and Romania and stuff. And so Alyssa's here, and I haven't heard from her in like 2 weeks. And I say to myself, when she wants to get together, she'll contact me. And I call and I can't leave a message. She doesn't have messages, or I'll text her and I don't get responses. So I don't get mad. I stay stoic and I sit there and I go, when she's ready to go out, she'll text me. She likes me, but it's just, it's very difficult. She's got a couple of kids, and so she's got to take care of the kids, and she can't find a sitter, so it becomes difficult. And anyway, so I just say, look, when you can go out, call me. We'll go out. Otherwise, I'm not going to call you, and you saying, oh, I can't go out. Okay, so just give me the green light. But that's the thing. You're trying to get the signal right. I'll see it at the pool. The girl smiles at me. The girl talks to me. Who knows? I just don't know. It's very, very strange. Anyway, that's what you have. So you try to stay stoic and not let these things bother you. I was applied to GM today, and I'm waiting to hear. We'll see. Again, it's out of my hands. If they want me, they'll call me. There's nothing I can do, and that's it. That's fine. In the meantime, I'm working on my thesis. So I did find my thesis. I think that's in my other notebook. So I'm going through my notes now. Medium of exchange, money functions, England, the number one power. So I don't get it. If England was the number one power, strongest navy, only property owners voted. London bought bonds from around the world, so they ended up collapsing. Normally there's wars and they inflate, and it was World War II. They needed money to fight Hitler, which they didn't have, so they gave us their gold for the weapons. So Keynes was our guy from FDR. Well, he understood gold well enough to take the gold from England. So how to become a financial power? Low taxes, free trade, which is most important, rule of law, stable money, gold, and good communications, and a good rule book. So what happens is, though, you don't keep the taxes low, your law gets fucked up, and you don't have stable money, which is gold, anymore, and that's how it collapses, and that's what's happened here. So you have that, and that's why I'm sitting there. You can understand what happened. There's no Ray Dalio tries to do cycles. Well, I can tell based on the cycle. Bullshit. It's whenever you start inflating your money is when the power goes out. So the power gets strong by having free trade, low taxes, sound government, rules, and gold for currency. And as soon as it gets rid of the gold, because they want to go to war and they can't print, because you can only have as much money as you have gold. So you got $1 trillion worth of gold, you can only have $1 trillion. But on the other hand, you'll never have a $36 trillion debt if you use the gold standard. Oh, but we don't want to use it because we can't print extra money. Well, you shouldn't be printing the money. That's like us. You get $1,000 a week and you're spending $2,000. Geez, you're going to owe a lot of debt. You got to understand that. You got to understand you can't spend more than you get in. Now you can do what I do, where I do spend a little bit more because I'm buying gold. So I'm buying a huge return on investment. So my credit card goes up. So I've actually spent more, but I bought gold. I bought an asset, so it's fine. That's how a finance person looks at it, return on investment. The accountants who run most of these companies sit there and go, well, we got $1,000 in, we can only spend 990 of it. We can't spend more than 1,000. Yes, you can if the return on investment exceeds the $1,000, which is what I say, which is why you buy gold and silver. So if you have to use your credit cards to buy it, you do, because gold's already, it's close to 3,000, on its way to 3,500, on its way to 5,000, on its way to 10,000. We're just going up the elevator right now. Why is it going up? Because it's the most simple principle. Low supply, high demand makes price go up. Why hasn't it? Because COMEX has been price fixing it, keeping the price down, because they want to make money on derivatives, and they want Wall Street and the banks to prosper, because that's how the U.S. is. So if I keep the price of gold and silver down, like that lady at work, she sold her silver for an annuity, and you're like, what a fucking idiot you are. And I told her that to her face. I go, you're an idiot. And she says, well, not in my lifetime. The silver won't go up and the dollar won't go out in my lifetime. Well, unless you have another year to live, yes, it will go down in your lifetime. This is very close to blowing up. You don't understand it. You cannot keep a $36 trillion debt and think your economy's good. And that's why Trump and Musk are running around trying to find money, but they're really not trying to find money. What they're finding is waste. They're not getting the money back. Oh, there's $1 billion in the U.S. aid that has, to Ukraine. But you're not getting the money back. You're just noticing that it is corrupt and it is bankrupt. But you still have printed the money, and the money is still worthless. You haven't solved the problem. And you won't solve the problem until you back the dollar by gold. Is Trump smart enough to do that? That one lady apparently is, but she wants to do it for bonds. Why not do it for the money? Just make your money gold back, because guess what? The BRICS country is going to do that. Russia and China are going to have gold back money. And if you don't, you're fucked, because who would want your money when you can have gold back money? Everybody will want gold back money. That's why the demand's high. That's why Pat says shortages everywhere now. We'll jack the price up, because if you want my gold, I'm not going to give it to you at 3,000 an ounce. But if you bid it up to 4,000 or 5,000, maybe I'll sell it to you at $5,000, because I have it and you don't, and you want it and I don't want to give it up. It's not a fair trade. Even at 5,000 an ounce, I'm not selling it, because I realize how limited it is and how much the demand is from all the BRICS countries and all these countries that haven't gone out yet, Germany, Italy, France, England, Switzerland, who, once they realize their dollar's worthless, are going to demand gold. So all this demand into gold, why would I sell it at 5,000? I wouldn't. It's going to be worth much more. As I explain with the football cards, Montana is rookie is 110,000. Who would have believed that? PSA 10, obviously, not PSA 9. Who would have believed it? And yet that's where it is. But yet I bought it for maybe $100 way back in the 90s, because I started to put my thinking cap up, and I'm buying cards, right? Like I bought this set. I bought this. This is 87 Dunros, not for Bobby's rookie, for Barry's rookie, but I bought it. And then I realized that there's a few cards in it, but most of the cards are crap. So that's when it triggered me to go buy Montana and Rice rookie cards and Elway and the 65 Mantles and Mazes and Hank Aaron's and Koufax and Bob Gibson and Pete Rose and all those guys, Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson. So I went after those guys in older sets, because they were like silver. They were like $30 silver. And now we can see that they're worth a lot more than the $30. That's where we're going with silver. It'll be a lot more than the $30. So we're just getting in, and we're being patient and stoic, going, we'll wait till it goes up. It can only go one way. It's only going to go to the moon. Can't go to zero. It's real money. There's huge demand for it. So we'll just wait for COMEX to break. And, I don't know, Soros, does he have gold? Well, he had all the Nazi gold. So does he not want gold go up, or he wants to control us in digital, which we're never going to accept? Nobody wants to accept it. He can say digital and you're going to like it and have nothing in life. He can say that. He can't do it. he can't control us and he can't make us do it. He can't make us do CBDCs. He can make the dollar worthless, but we can be smart and buy gold and silver and say, fuck you. We can do that. He can't control that. And once we're in it, he can't control us anymore. He can make the dollar go to zero, which he was trying to do with Biden and Obama, but he can't. Here comes Trump, and he can't control Trump. Well, maybe he can with Brissett. His treasury guy is a, like I said, a Soros guy, so maybe he can do that. Maybe Trump's too stupid to realize it. Trump. I was watching Colonel McGregor, and he says Trump just wants to win. So if it's something he can say he won at, like he'll end the war in Ukraine, and he'll say, well, I came in and I told you I'd end the war, and I did. How he ends the war and what he gives Putin, he doesn't care. He wins because he ended the war, which is what he said he would do. I think the 4 areas go to Russia. Ukraine keeps the rest. And all the minerals and oil are in those 4 areas the Russians have, which is probably what happened. They had it, and they gave Ukraine all the farmland and all the middle, and they didn't care about it. Jenna lives in the middle. She doesn't live in any of those cities. Anyway, that's what's happening. So hopefully the war ends. It's very expensive. There's a section I have on how do you finance the war. Let's see if I can get to that. That's the problem. I have so many between my notes and my folders. I think it's coming up, but it might be in here. Anyway, you finance it with bonds or money, and most of it is inflationary. Oh, and I haven't forgot. I got to look at your platinum at 1,000 an ounce. I told you I would look at it to see if it was a good investment. It's not money, though. All right, 4 ways to finance a war. There's inflationary or debt. Take your pick. The 4 ways are taxes, bonds, fiat, or bank credit. So you take a loan from the bank, you take the money, the greenbacks, or you do bonds, which are IOUs, or you tax people. Inflationary, taxes are not, bonds are not, money is, and bank credit is. Debt, taxes are not, bonds are debt, fiat's not debt, even though there's counterparty risk, and the bank credit is, that means you take a bank loan out. So you're in a war, it's expensive, there's no revenue coming in. So what do you do? And that's really the problem right now. So Putin wants to end the war because it's expensive, but Putin's got 25,000 tons of gold. So he's okay. U.S. doesn't have any gold. All the gold we're getting from England, I don't know whose it is because England doesn't have any gold. The gold they got in their vaults, maybe ETF gold, but it's not a lot. 400 tons is not a lot of gold. We have none in our Fort Knox, so I don't know. And I think we're just using it to pay down these derivatives on COMEX. So the real question you're asking me is when does COMEX blow up and we can get a real gold and a real silver price finally? Not based on demand, but based on COMEX blowing up so they can stop depressing our prices with derivatives and options. And that's a good question. And then with gold, you can see because they made it Basel 3 and Tier 1, you see COMEX gold is going. The U.S. had to get gold to pay off the derivatives, but they didn't get enough. It's already gone. And you see gold 29.20. We'll see what it is now. Let's take a look. $29.19 and silver 32.25. So you can see, I mean, this is such an obvious bullshit. You can see the 2 o'clock drop. You can see right here 29.21 at about 8 o'clock. Just 9 days out of 10, it does its drop to 29.08, so drop $13. Then you can see just before 10, it goes up. So the U.S. can do their derivative, but they want the money higher to do they make more if the derivative's higher. So they go and it goes up to 29.20, and then they do their derivative, but it only went down to 29.13. And now here comes a nice call option, 29.16, and we're back to 29.19. Silver is the exact same thing, 32.26. Now the difference is this is tier one, and when they do these derivatives, China and Russia, they take delivery of them. I want gold, and they got to give them gold. And that's why gold's busting loose, and that's why gold's at 29.20. That's why gold will be 3,500. And once COMEX blows up, you're going to really see it go. So the guy's question is, well, geez, why hasn't it gone up before? Because you didn't have Basel III and a tier one asset before. So it's like silver. Why isn't silver going up? The demand's huge for silver because it's not a supply demand thing. It is not a free market 32.26. It is a derivative where JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs are pushing the price down. I don't know if it's for the military to buy for the Tomahawk missiles. I don't know if it's for China so they can buy the silver cheap. I don't think that's either of it. It's the bullion banks. There's 8 billion banks are fucked because they did these derivatives and they got to cover them. And right now they don't have to cover them. They got to cover them, I think, when it hits 35. And that's why they keep pushing them down. They're all going to lose trillions of dollars. They won't. Those banks will be gone because they'll go broke because they can't afford these derivatives that they're doing because they're very pricey and high leverage. So they're not losing, it's 4% gold, 96% leverage. Well, you got to come up with that. So that's why the U.S. got the gold from London is to pay these derivatives off, but they got to get it. They owe 25,000 tons in silver. So it's near breaking, and let them go into Bitcoin. That's why they went into Bitcoin. So you think you're safe in Bitcoin. You got Larry Fink doing derivatives in Bitcoin, the same thing. So I talked to my friend, and she said she bought it at 60. It went up to 125. She's all happy. I looked, it's 95. And I go, why did it go down 30,000? I said, take your profit and get the fuck out of it. It's not real. You can't hold it. It's just an illusion. And people are afraid of things they don't know. That's why you get out. That's why we buy gold and silver. We're waiting for silver to explode like gold has. And it's going to happen soon. $100 silver will be a joke, and it'll be $1,000 silver once everybody realizes they've been made off. Now, the Bitcoin or the 401k people who are scared to sell it to buy gold because they don't see gold going. Now, how do you not see gold at $29.19? It was $1,900. It's $29. It's gone up $1,000, and yet they're not scared of their 401k in a mutual fund. Well, it's worth $500,000, and they're not scared that that's going to go down. These people are just morons. I mean, they have no idea. Luke's friend, who's got $4 million, well, soon it'll be $2 million, and he's not working there anymore. Soon it'll be $1 million. What will $1 million buy? Eggs and bacon. That's it. And then instead, he'll go, oh, shit, I need gold and silver. Forget about it. If you can find it, it'll cost you 10 times more. I mean, you're going to be paying $10,000 an ounce for silver soon. Or for gold, and silver, it'll slowly be 500, then 1,000, then 2,000. So you could buy it at 30. You're going to really kill yourself because you could buy it at 30. I just bought that 10-ounce bar I showed you. It was $33 an ounce. It was a 10-ounce bar. I paid $3.30 something, and soon it'll be $1,000 an ounce, and that'll be worth $10,000, which I paid $3.37 for. I don't know how hard it is to understand that. I mean, what concept can you not understand? I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but it won't really happen. Well, I guarantee you what will happen is, gold and silver will go up much higher because of demand, because you can't stop demand. That I'm certain of. That's not an opinion. as far as your 401k, the stock market's going to crash because as the dollars lose value all over the world, because yes, they all can go bankrupt, Mr. Marxist, because that'll happen, everybody will run into gold and silver, which will jump the price even higher. And COMEX can't hold gold down anymore, will not be able to hold silver. There's too much, 25,000 tons. It's a 4-year backlog. At some point, you have to pay the piper. And that's Roddy Piper. And you know you got to pay that guy. And once you get to that, then it's Katie bar the door. It's all over. And once that happens, it goes. And, you know, good luck finding it. And then good luck, what are you going to pay for it? So I'm 5 steps ahead. I'm buying it now for what I see happening soon, which I know will happen, which we will go bankrupt. That's 100% certainty. Only a moron thinks you can just keep printing and it won't go bankrupt. Only a moron thinks you can keep eating cake and ice cream and you won't gain weight. Only a moron can think that way. And, or we'll call them Keynesians or communists or Marxists, MMT people. Only they are so warped, they don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. That's why they talk like in Chinese and they talk in riddles. Well, they don't, the currency, they don't want the FX rate to go down. That's bad for trade. What the fuck are you talking about? It's got nothing to do with trade. You're going to buy things based on price, period. How much stuff are you trading with the U.S.? Now you're probably trading with China. And guess what? When we all go to gold-backed system in the BRICS, it'll be in gold. It won't be in dollars. There won't be an FX. The U.S. has made this game with FX is just bullshit, right? So that's what we got. Let's see. Is there any other thing I wanted to share? I really like this Bellagio background. I think it's delightful. It's a nice little change from the Caesars background. There's a lot of these games you can watch like in 20 minutes, like Super Bowl one, and then there's this Baltimore Oakland. When Baltimore won the Super Bowl in '70, they beat Dallas, but to that they had to beat Oakland because they switched to the NFL, the AFL, the AFC. That's it. This one's on sports cards, and basically it's a UPS worker who must have saw something that he knew from PSA on it, and he stole it. Now that's probably pretty rare. The question that's asked, he's at a card show and says, well, why aren't you getting these cards graded? It's the same answer we have, because we don't trust that they won't switch the cards. And you didn't really interject that, because that's what I'm worried about. If I give him my mantle, which could be a 10, if it's a 1968 and it's a PSA 10, it's over $1 million. And if I'm the grader and I get this card and it's a 10, you think I'm not keeping it? And come on, that just doesn't make any sense that I can trust them. You did say there's some card shows you can actually go and the PSA guy will actually be there and you can hand him the cards. Maybe I got to start doing that with some of my cards, make sure he's got it. And then, well, I'd love to just sit outside watching him grade the card, knowing he's not switching cards on me, because that's the biggest fear, because we don't trust. Because us Austrians and libertarians don't trust the government. Well, yeah, because we're smart. We don't trust too many people until you prove yourself to us that we can trust. How can you trust the government? Are you kidding me? Let's see. Anyway, that's about it. Let's see if there's anything new from Egon. I like this guy, this Rand Paul. He's pretty good. He's an Austrian. Example after example of wasteful government. Well, we know it's all corrupt. Just the fact they take the lobbyists' money is the corruption. So don't tell me like Trump, you're finding it. Yeah, we get it. Anyway, I want to watch this one. Whoever does this secretly hates you. Whoever does this secretly hates you. Carl Jung. I don't know. I don't know who this guy is, but I always like to hear that. It all started because of Obama. No, it started because of George Soros. As we have learned from George Soros video, he was the one that put Obama in. And he's the one that really fucked us because he's a Nazi. He doesn't like freedom. Excuse me. Any questions or comments, peeps? So our mission, so I'm writing up all my notes to do a table of summary. I don't know if I'll do a book or what I'll do. There's so much in my notes. This was a 13-week masterclass, Austrian economics. And you can see all the notes I take. And I'm just like, some of it is doubled because the pages ripped off, and then I still have pages in the notebook. So one page in the on the notebook and one page ripped off are the continuation of the thought. So that's why I have it twice. But I might do that. I did find my trade cycle, which is how the interest rates affect the stock market and the economy. Very interesting. And everything is supply demand. Everything's free market. If the prices go up too much, nobody buys it. So everything is really simple. There's a market for things that you can sell whiskey, ribs, a Toyota at. And then it's up to the seller to find that market and sell it. And when the seller's up here, he doesn't sell anything, causes a recession, causes a depression, causes unemployment. And usually if the seller is selling down here, he'll know it right away. It'll be a huge demand for it. So the key to the economy and the business is sell it at the market. So if you can determine your market and you can determine your competition, Toyota, Honda, Ford, GM, and you can understand your market. Once you understand the market, this is what people want and this is what people will buy it for. Can I make it for less and make profit by selling it? What's my competition doing? I must compete. And once you understand that, the economy is easy. Just because your costs go up doesn't mean you can raise your price if the market won't allow you. And then you get JP Morgan, who doesn't like competition, who wants monopolies. And that's basically what happened in 1913 with the central bank. He doesn't like competition, and he goes to the presidents and he keeps buying I think he had the New York presidents. The other guy had the Ohio ones, Rothschild or Rockefeller. He had the Ohio ones. JP Morgan had the New York. And it was all about, I want a monopoly, right? So imagine if I was the only handicapper or I was the only one teaching economics. I could charge what I want because there's no competition. And it's just dead wrong. It's not what America is. That's what communism is to have monopolies. Usually the government monopolies. Usually the government forces the prices. So what you have in a communist country, you have prices here and you have the market. So you have the market and then you have prices. And in communism, there is no substitute. There is no competition. It's basically, this is what we're selling it for. Oh, you want tuna? This is what we're selling it for. You're like, well, I can't afford it. So you pay for that, and then you don't have money to buy other things. That's why communism doesn't work. That's why MMT doesn't work. That's why you must have free markets. So communism is the government setting this price. and the people going, I can't afford that price, or I don't want to pay that, you're not at market. And in free market, the only way to sell, because your incentive is to sell your inventory, is hit that price level. Now you're doing a reverse with gold and silver. The market is here and your price is here. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let me switch that. So if the market's here and now let's see, the market's here, this is what I'll pay for it, and your price is here. So look what's happening. With everything else, the price is over, but with gold and silver, you've got the market willing to pay 3,000 an ounce for gold, and you're selling it for 2,900. The market's willing to spend $500 an ounce on silver, and you're selling it for 30. So what we have is this unusual, strange dichotomy in precious metals, oil, all the commodities. The market's up here and the price is down there. And you're keeping the price low so China and Russia can come over and buy this cheap. But everybody's at 3,000, 3,500, and it wouldn't bat an eye. So it's a very unusual, it's against the market. I've never seen this before, where the market's willing to pay this and you're selling it here. And that's why gold is going through the roof, because the market, the demand's up here, and the demand's up here because you're printing the dollar to zero, which makes people go, I better get out of dollars and go into gold, which is what's happening with BRICS, which happens with us, our class, Russia and China. So they realize the dollar's going out and their price is up here, and good old COMEX is down here. Because we got the dumbest people in the world working for COMEX and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and the banks, keeping the price here when the market says, I'll pay you this. Who the fuck does that? Only a complete idiot does that. George Soros, Jamie Dimon, the Goldman Sachs people. Well, we'll keep the price down. Yeah, but the market adjusts. The market sees the value much higher because you've printed the dollar to zero. Then you've got these idiots going, oh, you can't bankrupt the dollar. Yeah, you can, and you're doing it, and it's done, and it's worthless. The dollar's worthless. You have bankrupted. How do you not understand that? Then you call yourself an economist, which really skews me up, because you make an economist look like morons, and I'm an economist, and I'm going, well, I'm not a moron. It's like handicapping. And, a lot of the handicappers look like idiots. Except for me, I do pick 75%. And most people don't believe it because, well, the other guys can't. I'm not the other guy. I am fifth dimensional here, so I get that. But that's what happens. So people really don't understand. And people listen to the MMT guys, the Reicherts, this Hudson guy, all these other guys who really are idiots, or they're MMT, or they're Keynesians, or they're Marxists. Why would you listen to a Marxist? When has that ever worked? Did it work in Russia? No. Joe Stalin? I don't think so. Did it work with Hitler? I don't think so. Has it worked in Venezuela? I don't think so. Where has it worked? I don't think anywhere. You didn't even have that in Rome. Was more of a dictatorship, but it wasn't Marxist or communist. So you really just shake your head going, what the fuck is going on here? Anyway, that's what we have. Questions, comments, anything on that? 2 hours, so that's good. We had, it looks like 5-6 inches of snow, and I'm going to go to the pool. The roads should be fine by now. They're usually pretty good at plowing the roads here in Detroit. We're used to it. In the South, no. A lot of problems in California, where Gavin Newsom, some rich guy from the JP Getty oil company, like a relative, and he gets all the money from Silicon Valley, which is really not Bill Gates and Zuckerberg. They just stole it from other people's ideas. Bill Gates hasn't done anything original in his whole life. He stole that from the Indians, and then he bought Lotus 1-2-3 and called it Excel. He didn't create it. He hasn't done anything, and yet he wants to take credit. He's made a lot of money. I don't know who's backing him. Maybe George Soros. Seems like a George Soros guy. Seems like an idiot. Doesn't know what he's doing. You got Warren Buffett, who is holding his dollars, and he's gonna lose all his money because it's worthless. So you can have 2 billion or 20 billion or whatever the fuck he has. It's monopoly money, but it's making people like my friend with the 401k or Luke's friend go, well, no, it's fine. Look what Warren Buffett's doing. And what he's doing is going broke. I don't understand people who are so stupid that they can't comprehend the dollar's collapse because you printed it. And I better go into gold and silver. And I don't know it's 29.20. How do you not understand it keeps going up? It was just 27, went to 28. Now it's 29. It's going to be 3,000. We're in February. By the end of March, it'll probably be 3,500 or more. Could be 4,000. The way it's running, it just goes boom. And why the JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs keep the price down, because they're idiots. There's no normal explanation of it. It's political. No, it's retarded is what it is. You can call it political that they want to keep the price down, but it's not political. It's to keep you in the stock market and the banks. Now, the banks run the government, so there is no political anything. Soros runs the White House, and the banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs run the government with all the lobbyists. So I don't know what you're talking about political. There is no political. So anyway, that's what's going on. We'll get into the NFL draft soon. You got to draft defense. You got to draft running backs. See, they're starting to realize, oh, wait, we need running backs because Barkley was so good and Henry was so good, and the Lions had some good runners. Look for these coaches like Ben Johnson and Glenn to just flop. Johnson never had a good defense, and then Johnson is, basically it was on a silver platter. Here's some running backs, receivers, an average quarterback, and a good offensive line, so you could either run or pass, and that was based on how many guys were on the line. But what you going to do with the Bears? He's got Caleb Williams. That's ridiculous. He has no running. He has no offensive line. So he's actually going to have to coach, but he's going to be the head coach, which means he's got to do defense too, which he doesn't have any clue on. So I wouldn't bet the Bears to do anything. You'll see. He won't do much. The Lions won't do much. The sooner they realize golf's a choke, the better. Sooner Baltimore realizes Lamar you can't win with, the better. Josh Allen you can't win with, the better. Although he's better than Lamar, at least he can throw. He'll have the knee injury soon because you can't run like he does. They're gonna crush him. He plays a good defense, he'll get crushed. Philadelphia, for example, Kansas City crushes him. And then we'll see what happens. Basketball, like I said, it's so fixed. It's very hard to bet it. You got back-to-back games. You got 3 days and 4 nights. You got West Coast and East Coast trips. There's so many more variables in basketball. And most of the teams sunk because it's all three-point shooting. And you can't, that's the stupidest, talk about stupid. That's the stupidest thing you could do. Well, let's go 30 feet out. Yeah, my percentage of hitting it will be 2%. Yeah, there are a lot of long rebounds, but will the other teams fast break? Will the other teams get in the lane and shoot sky hooks and get to the foul line by going and driving to the hoop? That's how you win. That's how you always win. 3 feet shots are a lot easier to make than 30-foot shots. But it's all analytics now. Well, you get 3 points. So even if you shoot 10%, you get 3 points. So the other 9 so you hit one, the other 9 you miss. Yeah, but you got 3 points. These coaches are like a bunch of idiots. This whole analytical thing is a bunch of idiots. It's like football where they go, it's the line to gain. I love watching the older games, like these playoff games. Nobody says line to gain. You got a first down. You didn't get a first down. There's no instant replay. You got a foot. The ref's 2 feet away, calls it a touchdown. It's a touchdown. Look at that sea of hands game, 74. Bolitnikoff on the third quarter touchdown. Was he in or not? We don't know, but they called it a touchdown. It's a touchdown. Was it really a touchdown? Yes, because they called it a touchdown. It doesn't matter. We don't need instant replay. We got a ref who's 2 feet away. If he can't call it, then why do we have refs playing? That's the point, is you just go with what the ref calls. And as long as you call it a touchdown, it's a touchdown. When Franco Harris scored the last touchdown against the Rams, did he get in? The ref's 2 feet away. The ball looked at on the line. Was the touchdown? It's a touchdown. We don't need a 10-minute break to see, was it really a touchdown? We don't give a fuck if it was really a touchdown. What we give a fuck is the ref who's 2 feet away called it a touchdown. Why do we need to go 5 minutes for commercials to see, was it, it really takes you 5 minutes to do this, then maybe it's not efficient and maybe you shouldn't do it. It's a 30-second look. It's a one. And if you can't find that, the ref is right there. And so if he misses it, he missed it. If he doesn't have the good angle, that's too bad. If he calls it a touchdown, it's a touchdown. I hate that. Oh, well, his knee touched. Yeah, but the ball was over the goal line. I hate that. The guy's going in for a touchdown. The ref calls it a touchdown. His knee hit. Yeah, but the ball was already in the end zone or on the line. It's still a touchdown. And then they mark it like the one. They mark it where the knee hit. It's where the ball is when the knee hits. So there's a lot of problems with instant replay. It really sucks. Baseball's shooting itself with this 10th inning. We'll put a guy on second. What is that? That's not baseball. Baseball, you have to earn your way on. That's the whole point of it, not, oh, we'll give you second. The game's too long. Let's do a pitch clock. Let's do a bat clock. What the fuck sport is that? That's not what Mickey Mantle didn't have that. Why would you do it now? Why are you so hurried to get the game in, but yet you have 5 minutes of commercials between innings? What the fuck are you doing? So these guys running these leagues are just one's dumber than the rest. Basketball's terrible. Baseball's horrible. Football, you're kind of killing it. What was the beginning of the Super Bowl? Tom Cruise is there selling a Mission Impossible movie for 5 minutes. As we're all waiting, it's 6:30. The game's supposed to start. The guys are shaking hands, and then they do some New Orleans stuff where they introduce the people. Do that at halftime. And then you have, let's play the game. That's why we're here for it. And they do that, and then they do Tom Cruise. What the hell is going on here? They're losing their minds. They're losing. I kept turning on the Munsters. I'll come back in 5 minutes. Maybe they'll start the game. I don't care if I miss the kickoff. And they still didn't kick off. So they're losing their minds. Anyway, that's about it. Our last look at gold and silver as we bid farewell. Ooh, we got a big jump at 2:00. Gold took the leap up, 29.25. See, silver doesn't move. So you asked me trading gold for silver. Silver's up a whopping 6 cents. Gold's now up $23. This is why I say do not trade your gold for silver. 29.25. So it's fucking around here at 8:00 and a little down at 10, 12 o'clock. And then they're done with that. And then here comes, boom, 29.25. And these are all derivatives. So if the price zooms up, they're going to do put options because they know the price went up and they're just taking a breather. And when the price goes down, like it went down to 29.08, okay, let's go. So, this will be 29.25. We've seen 29.40, I think, yesterday. This will get to 29.50, 29.75, and then we will see 3,000. We will see 3,000. The question is, will your 401k that's at 500,000 see 501,000? More likely, you're going to see 450 before it sees 501. And this is the whole theory of the day. The gold's going up, the silver's going up. Your 401k has got nowhere to go. your Bitcoin has got nowhere to go. Now, a lot of that is people understanding the inflation, but don't understand where to go with it. So they're pulling the money from the bank, let's say, and they're buying stocks or they're buying Bitcoins as safe havens. They're not the safe havens. They're still on the boat. So they're on the Titanic, but they went from the third level to the second level. And they think, well, we're safe now. We're off the third level. You're still on the boat. And that's what they don't realize. So even though you're in stocks, stocks are not a safe haven. Bitcoin's not a safe haven from the dollar. That's what you got to realize. It's the gold and silver because they can't print it. And in stocks, when the recession, which is already here, and it won't go, once that's happening, then you're fucked. I mean, it won't. The economy won't. Not going to make your stocks go up. Things aren't selling. People are getting laid off. There's not going to be more buying. Your stock, your sales, your profits aren't going up. So you're in. Take a. You're in Microsoft. Well, you're not. Nobody's buying computers now, and you're in trouble. Now you're trying to sell Excel. I hate that. It's been free all of a sudden. Well, it's $60 a year. Yeah, go fuck yourself. There'll be other I'll go back to Lotus 123. So Gates is taking the J.P. Morgan book of, I'll get a monopoly and then I'll take advantage of it. So that's what you have to understand. What's going to make the stock go up is more people buying computers and whatever Microsoft sells now, or Intel. Well, will there be more chips sold? And is there competition in the chips and all that? And that's really the point. The competition, the lower prices, there's lower demand because people aren't working. And if you are working, you're tight with your money because all the other things are going up, like food and utilities that are going up. I'm praying my rent. I think it goes up, and I think I get a new contract in March or April. And again, I'm hoping. Last year it didn't go up at all. I was surprised. This year, if it doesn't go up, I'll be surprised. But if it goes up more than like $50, I'll be surprised. I'm not expecting a huge increase. They took smoking out, so that should help their insurance, which means they probably won't raise their rent too much. So we'll see. Anyway, that's what's happening. So buy your gold and silver. It's going. The market dictates that. The dollar is gone. It's worthless. Yes, you can go bankrupt if you print too much. I know how the communists and the Marxists and the MMT and the Keynesians want to make you believe that you can't go bankrupt. You can just keep printing money and printing money without understanding their money will have no value if you do that. So that's how stupid they are. So be careful who you listen to. All right. Anything else? Okay. So have a nice day. www.teaserking.com. Buy your gold and silver. 29, 26, 32, 31. Paper. Physical is 10 times higher. I advise you to buy physical. Do not buy ETFs. You can buy stocks, but be very careful. And then you don't want to buy paper gold. So stay out of ETFs, even 401ks. If you don't get the gold in your hands, you don't want it. You only want gold you can get in your hands because they can't fuck with you. They can't attack on Wall Street you saying, oh, that 60,000 real estate trust you have it's now worthless. They can't do that to you. So understand that. All right, little late lunch, and then I'm off to the pool. Hopefully, the roads have been plowed. We got looks like 5 inches or so. We're supposed to get really hammered Saturday, so we'll see. Anyway, have a good day, and www.teaserking.com. The professor signing off, and I wish you well. Stay healthy and buy your gold and silver because silver you can still get your hands on, but buy your gold. It's going away and it's just going up. 29, 26 means for an ounce, you're paying at least $30.50 for an ounce. So now you're paying over $3,000 for an ounce of gold. And that's going to be cheap because it's going to be 3,500 soon, and then 5,000. And how much gold can you buy with 5,000? Right? I liked it better at 1,800, but I'm already in, and now I'm I've already in the elevator. Now we push the button. Let's go to the penthouse. I don't, I could always buy more. I like to buy as much as I can, but you can't lose. So anyway, have a good day and be good. All right. I will talk to you tomorrow. Oh, wait, I got to edit the title. All right, so I just saved the title because it wouldn't let me end, so I'm going to end it now. All right, have a nice day, everybody.